80% victory? Sturdy Mwale's bold prediction for Hichilema Zambia elections 2026. 80%. Not 51. Not 60. But over 80%. That is the stunning prediction now dominating Zambia's political conversation. According to Sturdy Mwale, President Hakainde Hichilema will not just win the next election, he will dominate it in historic fashion. But is this confidence political realism or dangerous overconfidence? Tonight, we break down the claim, the numbers, and the political risks behind it. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. Well, it's been quite a week here, hasn't it? The political temperature in southern Africa continues to rise as we edge closer to what many are calling the most consequential election season in recent memory. And today, we have a story that has set tongues wagging from Lusaka to Livingstone, our lead story. A prediction so audacious, so remarkably precise, that it has sent shockwaves through Zambia's political landscape and beyond. Picture this: a weathered political strategist stands before cameras, his voice unwavering, his conviction absolute. He doesn't speak in the careful, hedging language of typical political operatives. No maybes. No perhaps. Instead, he delivers a prophecy with mathematical precision. President Hakainde Hichilema will secure victory in the 2026 elections. Not just any victory, but a landslide. 80% of the vote. 80%. But who is this man bold enough to stake his reputation on such a staggering prediction? What does he see that others don't? Is this the calculated assessment of a seasoned insider who has his finger on the pulse of the nation? Or is it political theater, a carefully choreographed performance designed to project confidence where doubt might actually lurk? And here's where it gets even more intriguing. In a political environment where elections are often won by the slimmest of margins, where opposition forces are regrouping and recalibrating their strategies, where economic headwinds continue to test the patience of ordinary Zambians, how could anyone predict such a crushing, overwhelming victory? What intelligence does Sturdy Mwale possess? What data has he analyzed? What whispers has he heard in the corridors of power? And perhaps most importantly, what does this audacious prediction reveal about the state of Zambia's democracy, the opposition's current standing, and the UPND's grip on the nation's political imagination? Could this be the confidence of a party that has truly transformed the nation's fortunes? Or is it the dangerous hubris that comes before a fall? And for the opposition parties scrambling to mount a credible challenge, what must they be thinking as they hear these words? Is their fight already over before it's begun? Or will this bold prediction become the rallying cry that finally unites them against a common adversary? Factual foundation. The revelation came to light during a recent public appearance that has since dominated Zambian political discourse and social media platforms alike. Sturdy Mwale, a name that carries considerable weight in Zambian political circles, made his stunning prediction in what appeared to be a carefully planned public statement. Mwale, who has been closely associated with President Hichilema and the United Party for National Development since their rise to power in 2021, chose this moment to go on record with a forecast that many consider either brilliantly prescient or spectacularly reckless. The context is crucial here. We are now firmly in 2026, the year when Zambians will return to the polls to decide whether to grant President Hichilema a second 5-year term. The political landscape has been heating up for months. Opposition parties have been attempting to regroup after their devastating losses in 2021. Economic indicators have been mixed, some showing recovery, others revealing persistent challenges that affect ordinary Zambians daily. It was against this backdrop that Mwale stepped forward. According to reports that emerged, he didn't merely suggest that Hichilema would win. He didn't speak in generalities about the president's popularity or the opposition's weaknesses. Instead, he delivered a specific, quantifiable prediction: 80% of the vote would go to the incumbent president. To understand the audacity of this claim, we must remember that in Zambia's recent electoral history, such margins are virtually unheard of in contested democratic elections. Even in 2021, when Hichilema secured his long-sought victory over Edgar Lungu, the margin, while decisive, was nowhere near 80%. The statement quickly spread through Zambian media outlets, social media platforms, and political WhatsApp groups. Within hours, it had become the primary topic of discussion among political analysts, opposition figures, and ordinary Zambians trying to make sense of this bold declaration. So who exactly is Sturdy Mwale? He has long been regarded as one of the strategic minds within the UPND's inner circle, someone with access to internal polling data, grassroots feedback, and the kind of intelligence that shapes campaign strategies. His voice carries weight not because of any official government position, but because of his proximity to power and his reputation as someone who understands the political pulse of the nation. Direct evidence. Now, let's hear from the man himself. While we don't have the complete transcript of Mwale's statement, various media outlets and social media sources have captured key portions of his remarks. According to reports, Mwale stated clearly and unequivocally, President Hakainde Hichilema will win the 2026 elections with 80% of the vote. This is not wishful thinking. This is based on what we are seeing on the ground, the work this government has done, and the complete disarray of the opposition. He went on to elaborate, reportedly saying, when you look at the infrastructure development, when you look at the restoration of democratic freedoms, when you look at how this president has reopened civic space, fought corruption, and restored Zambia's standing internationally, the people know. They see the difference. And they will reward this leadership decisively. One particularly striking moment came when Mwale addressed the opposition directly. Sources indicate, he said, the opposition is fragmented. They have no message. They have no unity. They have no credible alternative to present to the Zambian people. You cannot beat something with nothing, and right now, they are offering nothing but complaints and nostalgia for a past that Zambians have rejected. When pressed about whether such a prediction might be premature or overconfident, Mwale reportedly doubled down, I stand by every word. Mark my words. Write them down. When August 2026 comes, assuming that's when the elections will be held, you will see that this prediction was not bold. It was simply accurate. Various political commentators who have analyzed his statement noted the conviction in his delivery. One analyst who spoke to local media said, Mwale didn't appear to be engaging in typical political hyperbole. He seemed genuinely convinced. Whether that conviction is justified, well, that's what we'll all be watching to see. Opposition voices, naturally, have responded with skepticism bordering on derision. A spokesperson for one of the major opposition parties was quoted as saying, "This is exactly the kind of arrogance that has always been the downfall of ruling parties. They start believing their own propaganda. They stop listening to the people. And then election day comes, and reality hits them like a freight train." Another opposition figure reportedly stated, "Let them dream their dreams of 80%. Meanwhile, we are on the ground, talking to real Zambians dealing with real problems. The cost of living crisis, unemployment among young people, unfulfilled promises, these are the realities that will determine this election, not the fantasies of party operatives." Deeper analysis. So what are we to make of all this? Mwale's prediction raises profound questions about the state of Zambian politics as we approach what should be a competitive election. First, let's consider the possibility that he might be right, or at least not as far off as skeptics suggest. President Hichilema and the UPND did achieve a significant mandate in 2021, ending years of increasingly authoritarian rule under Edgar Lungu and the Patriotic Front. The restoration of democratic norms, the reopening of independent media outlets, and attempts to tackle corruption have won the government considerable goodwill, both domestically and internationally. Moreover, the opposition in Zambia is indeed facing serious challenges. The Patriotic Front, once the dominant political force, has been in disarray since losing power. Internal divisions, corruption scandals involving former officials, and a struggle to define a post-Lungu identity have all weakened what should be the primary opposition party. Other opposition parties remain small and regionally focused, lacking the national machinery needed to mount a credible challenge. Dr. Sishiwa, a prominent political analyst, has noted in various commentaries that opposition fragmentation is a genuine concern for Zambian democracy. Without a strong opposition to keep the government accountable, even well-intentioned governments can drift toward complacency or overreach. However, and this is crucial, an 80% victory would be extraordinary even under the most favorable circumstances. It would suggest not just popularity but something approaching political hegemony. And here's where democratic alarm bells might start ringing. In healthy democracies, such overwhelming victories are rare. They typically occur only in the immediate aftermath of revolutionary moments or in systems where democratic competition has been severely constrained. Zambia in 2026 doesn't obviously fit either category. Yes, the UPND government has maintained democratic freedoms. Yes, the opposition is weak. But are things so one-sided that only 20% of voters would support opposition candidates? That would require believing that the government has satisfied the vast majority of Zambians on issues like employment, cost of living, healthcare, and education, areas where significant challenges persist. Economic analysts have pointed out that while Zambia has made progress in some areas, such as debt restructuring and attracting foreign investment, ordinary Zambians are still struggling with high costs for basic goods, persistent unemployment, and uneven development between urban and rural areas. These are the kitchen table issues that often determine elections. There's also the question of what such a prediction does to the political environment itself. Does it inspire UPND supporters and demoralize the opposition? Does it create complacency within the ruling party? Or does it galvanize opposition forces to prove the prediction wrong? Political psychologist Dr. Naomi Namwizi, speaking on a local radio program, raised an intriguing point. Sometimes bold predictions like this serve a strategic purpose. They're not necessarily meant to be literally accurate. They're meant to shape perceptions, to create a bandwagon effect, to make victory seem inevitable so that it becomes self-fulfilling. And then there's the international dimension. Zambia has been praised by Western democracies and international financial institutions for its democratic reforms and economic management under Hichilema. A peaceful, credible election in 2026 would further cement this reputation. But if the election produces an 80% landslide, international observers might ask hard questions about whether the opposition had genuine opportunities to compete, whether media coverage was balanced, and whether the playing field was truly level. The ruling party would argue that overwhelming victory simply reflects overwhelming support. Critics would argue it reflects a democratic deficit. Not in terms of outright fraud, perhaps, but in terms of the opposition's inability to access resources, media attention, and organizational capacity needed to mount effective campaigns. Well, viewers, there you have it. Sturdy Mwale's audacious prediction: 80% for President Hichilema in the 2026 elections. A forecast so bold it demands attention, whether you find it inspiring or alarming. As we've explored today, this isn't just a story about one man's prediction. It's a window into the state of Zambian democracy, the challenges facing the opposition, and the confidence, some might say overconfidence, within the ruling party. The coming months will tell us whether Mwale is a prophet or simply another partisan operative caught up in the echo chamber of his own side's rhetoric. Elections have a way of humbling those who claim to predict them with certainty. I want to thank you for watching this edition of InspirAfrica Official. This is exactly the kind of story we love to bring you: political developments that matter, analyzed with the depth and nuance they deserve. What do you think? Is Sturdy Mwale onto something? Has he identified a genuine groundswell of support that will carry Hichilema to an unprecedented landslide? Or is this the kind of hubris that often precedes a rude awakening? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Whether you're in Lusaka, Livingstone, or anywhere else in the world following Zambian politics, we want to hear from you. Are you a UPND supporter who believes this prediction is spot on? Are you in the opposition, shaking your head at what you see as delusional arrogance? Or are you an independent observer trying to make sense of it all? We'll be following this story closely as we move toward Election Day. And you can bet we'll be here to break it all down, whatever happens. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. I'm Nakash, and I'll see you in the next edition. Stay informed. Stay engaged. And as always, stay inspired.